Okay, so here's the thing. A lot of people don't care about what teenagers think. We think teenagers...
Including you, let's be real here.
No, I'm not one of them. I think teenagers are wonderful, but a lot of people think teenagers talk a lot of garbage, a lot of rubbish.
Complaining you do about
I
undeveloped
completely agree.
frontal lobes is absolutely amazing.
Well, that's why people think teenagers' opinions aren't important, because their frontal lobe isn't developed. But today is all about finding out what teenagers think. And we've got a guest question asker. So we've got 8-year-old Annalise, who's going to be asking the questions.
Oh, my name is Cameron. I'm 14 and I'm pretty good.
14-year-old Cameron, and over here. Can't hear you.
I don't want to share my name
Okay.
on record.
How old are you? 19. Okay, so he's just scraping into the teenagehood. And over
Basically nearly there.
15-year-old Zach.
here, 15-year-old Zach. A new 15 or an old 15? When
15.
did you turn 15 recently?
January.
January. Yeah, go for it.
A lot of people are worried that the world will soon go to war with North Korea. As a teenager, how do you feel about North Korea?
How do you feel about North Korea? Now, there's a heavy question to start us off. What do teenagers think about North Korea?
Personally, it's not very good having Rocket Man in North Korea, as Donald Trump calls him. But it's sort of pretty. It is scary because we got Donald Trump and Kim Jong Un at the same time, which isn't a really good combination because they're both competing for their egos. If they say something and they don't carry out on it, then that's like a loss of their image. So it's pretty scary, two egos clashing like that.
That's true.
The whole place is basically a cult. It's really, really poor over there. And so the military is basically like the only. There's no support networks or anything like that. There's no headspace or things.
Do you guys know about Otto? I think his name's Warnier. I think he was between 17 and 20 years old when he went over there. And he's an American, and he went over with a bunch of students from his uni or his college, something like that. And he tried to steal a poster. Have you heard this, Megs?
No, not really.
Tried to steal a poster off a wall to take home. It was a bit of North Korean propaganda. He decided it would be interesting to take that off the wall and take it back. If you go on the internet and look at his trial with all the North Korean soldiers around this white American who you can tell, it doesn't matter what he says, how much he cries, how much he pleads, he's going to be found guilty. He was sentenced to something like 13 years hard labour. Nobody heard from him. There was no diplomat. There was no relation, just sunk into oblivion, despite the Americans trying to find out what happened. And then they eventually released him. He's come back in a coma for 2 days. They rushed him off the plane. And now there's all ideas of the torture that he went through, and he's actually passed away now. So it's pretty hideous. He was like, the reason I bring him up is because he was the example that North Koreans made of what happens to Americans. Not necessarily if they go to North Korea, but if they disrespect the North Korean way of life.
So much of their aggression is targeted at their own people, but then they still branch out a little bit as well, don't they?
But it's interesting. I'm sitting here with 3 teenagers who are not concerned about nuclear war.
Kim Jong-un won't use nuclear weapons because he knows he doesn't have very many of them, and that he would be completely wiped out by any retaliatory attack from
So
the
you think
US.
he just wants to own them?
The thing is,
for the threat?
the thing is though, it's a cult. The only way that cults have successfully, like big ones, have been successfully disbanded in the past has been if a force way bigger than them, like the FBI has raided it, which with nuclear weapons on the table that won't happen, or is if like some kind of mass suicide situation, which I don't think is applicable here, or if it's just a revolution from within, which a lot of North Korean refugees say is the only way that North Korea is ever going to be. In North Korea, they're told that South Korea is really poor and that the US is in charge and treats them like slaves, when South Korea is really just much richer than they are, and they're all living lives of luxury.
Like if you look at if you're out in space and you look at Earth and you see North and South Korea, all of North Korea is in darkness and all of South's in like the light, and you can see the border because the border separates where there's light and where there's dark.
Literally.
It's quite hilarious. Yeah, you see
yeah.
those images.
It's very symbolic. So our question asker has a new question to ask. There's only four, so don't panic.
What is your favorite app and why?
Your favourite app and why?
I know mine. Mine's Steam. While you guys think of your
Steam is an app that does what?
answer. It is. It's basically like an
World of gaming.
iTunes for games. So you can buy nearly any game ever made on there, except ones where the manufacturers of the game have gone, no, we don't like your product. We're going to make our own that's like this.
Steam's huge, isn't it?
It's enormous.
So you just buy games
And
through an
there's-
app.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, they have enormous sales. Like, they'll have pretty popular franchises that are
Discount
like
codes
70%
every
off.
day. Fair enough. Okay.
It's pretty good.
Steam is one. What's your favourite app, Mix?
Oh, look, mine are pretty boring because mostly I use my iPad and stuff for school. So basically, I like the apps that help me do things a lot easier at school, like writing and stuff like that. Like, there's this really good app called Pages I've got.
Pages.
Yeah, and the writing format's great. So then when I have to submit an essay or whatever, the format like really professional and nice, and I can edit it the way I want it.
Wow.
So things like that, I guess. I don't have many games on my iPad.
So you like the productive apps?
Yeah, I like the productive apps.
I'm surprised. Zach, do you have a favourite app?
My favourite app would be App Store.
App Store. We've got another question to ask.
Everyone has a fear of something. What scares you the most in this world?
What scares you the most in this world?
I mean, I don't go outside, so really.
So the outside scares you.
No, I'm just saying, like, I don't do enough to be scared of things.
You're 19 and not scared of anything.
It's not that I'm not scared of anything, it's just I haven't had exposure to things, like, so that I can be scared of them. Because people are only scared of spiders after they find a whopping great big tarantula in their boot one morning.
Do you
And
reckon?
they're like, oh my god, that's horrifying.
I was scared the first time I saw a spider.
Were you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it got worse when we found like redbacks near the pool and stuff.
That's so Australian,
remember
isn't it?
that,
Redbacks
actually.
Liverpool.
Yeah.
So is that your fear, Zach?
No, my fear would be the thought of what it's like after death.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is very heavy and morbid.
Yeah.
What do you think it's all about after you pass away?
I'm not sure. That's what.
That's what scares
Yeah.
you.
Like it could be so many things that it could be.
That's true. Megs, what's your greatest fear?
Well, I guess I'm quite afraid of being thrown into situations that I'm a bit scared of. Like, recently you took me to the movies and I've been worried about It for a long time now, the movie It.
Was that
Worried.
mean thing that I did because you said you
Yeah.
didn't want to go to the movies and see it?
Yeah. And
So
then-
I took you to the cinema and wouldn't tell you what we were seeing, and you were sitting there clutching the
Yeah.
hand rests.
Because I didn't know, and I didn't like not having the control over what
And
was happening.
unfortunately for
not
Megs,
knowing.
it was much scarier than it. It turned out to be Dame Judi Dench in, what was it called again?
It
The
was
Queen and Albert or something like that.
maybe about India and England.
It was brilliant.
It was actually
it was
really
really good. But the close-ups of Judi Dench, that was very
Pretty terrifying.
very frightening.
Judy Dench, more like Judy Clench.
Or Judy
Yeah.
Dench's.
You're not that.
Poor Judy. What has she done to deserve this? So we've got the fear of what happens after we die. We've got the fear of unknown situations, and you're not scared of anything.
I mean, I don't know, like the usual stuff, like if there's a bear near me, I'll be like, hey, that's a bear. Bears attack people when they're provoked. I don't like that. I'm going to move away now.
You
Has
have
that
the
ever
time
happened to
think
you?
Like that?
No, it hasn't. And no, I don't think like that, obviously. When there's a bear right next to me.
So we're down to our final question.
Australia is deciding about marriage equality. What do you think will happen?
So Australia's deciding about marriage equality. There's the plebiscite.
Mm-hmm.
People will be listening to this in the future and going, we know what happened. We don't know what's going to happen yet. So we're all mailing. By the way, can I ask, as teenagers, did you fill in this plebiscite? Because your house would have got one and maybe your parents got you involved. And I'm really curious to know much more than the plebiscite. What about posting things in a mailbox? I mean, I've never...
Dude, no one ever told me how to post things in a mailbox.
Teenagers haven't
Yeah.
That
done
was
that.
a terrifying experience.
Yeah.
So
no.
did you do it?
Yeah,
pretty
I left
weird.
my apartment. Which
But
that
how
was
did you
terrible.
know? They should have had a picture of what a mailbox looked like. Shouldn't
No,
they?
I didn't know. I actually texted someone and got them to ask their mum, and I was like, "Hey, where do I put this?"
Yeah.
like
It's
big
crazy
red box.
that they use like posting when they could just use like an app where you click yes or no and then you click send or submit and then
But
it's done.
That could be like hacked or something to
Yeah,
change the
I
votes.
suppose.
The reason no one's done this sort of thing before is because there's a lot of people who don't like it, and there's a lot of people who do like it, and it's a divisive issue, and they just want to keep their head down and get through their 3 years in government, and then on the other end, maybe they've still got some popularity and they can get back into the top seed again, and they can ride that through for another 3 years and keep their head down.
Well, the question that Lisi was asking is what should happen, or what will happen, do you think, from this plebiscite?
Well, to me, I think it's like quite obvious. I don't want to make too bold an assumption, but I reckon it will be yes, will be the answer in general, because I think most people will be voting that. There'll be like the odd few people.
Does that mean they'll
religion.
change the law, though, because a plebiscite's not binding?
Well, yeah. Well, hopefully, like why? It would make people pretty angry if they voted yes and then they didn't act on it. So
Yeah.
I assume so. Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Yes.
gay is used pretty loosely around the schoolyard. Like, definitely people are like, oh, that's gay, bro, or that, oh, you did that, you're gay, stuff like that. Usually in that tone of voice too.
Funniest thing is when they meet an actual gay person, like there was this gay guy at our school called, something or other. I didn't say that, but he was bullied fairly bad, like along the way.
Yeah, it's sort of like they use that word gay in that way, but the hostility is sort of less there. It feels like they're not really.
It's more like joking around with friends.
Yeah, they're not really against the whole idea of being gay and being that way. They just use it because it's what people say,
Yeah.
It's like slang, even though it's slang for 3 different things: being happy, doing something that's out of the norm, and then also the sexual orientation part of it. So yeah.
Can we say thank you to our chief question asker?
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yay.
Annalise. That was great.
Well, thank you for coming in and talking about these 4 very important issues. Much appreciated.
I
Zach,
have bed to go back to.
Sir.
Very important.
Megs,
Yeah.
and chief question asker. Well done.
Very good.
Yes, thank you. It was great.